an old saying about flying. Statistically, you're more likely to die in a car accident than you are in a plane. And when you think about it, well, it does make sense. Air traffic is a lot more spacious than car traffic. That's pretty obvious. So, the odds of you going without harm are really strong. For those on board British Airways Flight 5390, a Bach 111 aircraft, that was the case. The passengers were fine. The captain, however, was not. He was sucked out the cockpit window. Here's what happened. The year was 1990, and what a year it was. Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas became a box office hit, alongside little Kevin McAllister being left home alone. Sinead O'Connor was catapulted into superstardom with Nothing Compares to You, and the final dismantling of the Berlin Wall had taken place, marking the reunification of Germany. It should have been a routine flight for Captain Tim Lancaster, his crew, and the 81 passengers who were flying direct from Birmingham Airport, England, to Malaga Airport, Spain. Lancaster was a very experienced pilot, racking up over 11,000 flight hours in his time. He was accompanied in the cockpit by First Officer Alistair Atchison, in addition to having 4 flight attendants on board. The flight attendants were Nigel Ogden, Simon Rogers, Susan Gibbons, and John Heward. Little did they know the heroic roles they'd be forced to play on this fateful day. The plane had undergone some necessary maintenance the day before departure, with these repairs playing a crucial role in the catastrophic incident that would happen shortly after takeoff. Flight 5390 departed Birmingham Airport at 7:20 AM for its 2-hour 55-minute journey to Malaga, Spain. The aircraft began its ascent and was climbing to cruising altitude when disaster struck at 17,300 feet. The left windshield on the captain's side blew out, resulting in explosive decompression of the cockpit, resulting in the pressure equalising with the lower pressure outside. Captain Lancaster was directly in the path of the decompression and was violently sucked out the window. In a critical moment of luck or good fortune, his legs became entangled in the flight controls, injuring him but preventing him from being sucked out completely and falling 17,300 feet to his death, or possibly sucked into the engine of the plane. The position of Lancaster's body, half outside the aircraft, subjected him to extreme wind blast and cold at high altitude. His upper body was battered against the window frame, while his lower body remained anchored in the cockpit. Flight attendant Nigel Ogden instinctively reacted. Without hesitation, Ogden rushed to the cockpit from the cabin. Demonstrating remarkable bravery and presence of mind, Ogden grabbed Lancaster's legs, which were still inside the aircraft. As mentioned, the captain's upper body and torso were outside the aircraft. Ogden held on to Lancaster's legs with every ounce of strength he had, literally anchoring the captain to the plane. This effort was physically demanding and hazardous. Ogden himself was at risk of being pulled out of the broken window, but no matter the risk and danger to his own life, would not let go of the captain. He sustained several injuries to himself. He was violently thrown against the cockpit's interior due to the violent air currents and the force exerted by Lancaster's body flailing outside the aircraft. However, Ogden held on. Simon Rogers also entered the cockpit, trying to assist Ogden in pulling the captain back into the plane, while holding on to Ogden also. This was all without an oxygen mask, which could have resulted in everyone passing out, but due to the altitude the plane was flying at, in addition to the adrenaline pumping through the flight attendants' bodies, they remained conscious the entire time. While this horrific incident was occurring, co-pilot Alistair Atchison was thrust into a dire situation. The cockpit was in disarray, with the captain incapacitated and partially ejected from the aircraft. Atchison's first directive was to ensure the safety of the plane which must have been incredibly difficult to do so, as his captain was moments from being sucked out the window. This swift transition was crucial, as every second counted in preventing a catastrophe. The ejection of the windshield created an irregular aerodynamic profile, potentially affecting the aircraft's stability and handling characteristics. One of Acheson's first actions was to reduce altitude to stabilize the aircraft and decrease the pressure differential, a critical move under the circumstances, and as mentioned, was crucial in Ogden, Rogers and the captain all remaining conscious, even with the captain exposed to the elements outside of the plane. Acheson promptly declared an emergency situation to ATC, ensuring that he would receive priority handling and assistance. Despite the noise and turmoil in the cockpit, he effectively communicated the grave situation to ATC, providing them with the necessary information to prepare for the aircraft's emergency landing. He worked with ATC to identify the nearest suitable airport for the landing, which was Southampton, and skillfully navigated the plane towards the airport under challenging conditions. Managing the passengers was another critical aspect. The crew needed to keep the passengers calm and secure in an incredibly tense and dangerous situation. Susan Gibbons and John Heward ensured passenger safety while dealing with an unprecedented cockpit emergency, which showcased their professionalism and training. With everyone working together in what could be one of the greatest examples of teamwork in aviation history, co-pilot Acheson successfully landed the plane at Southampton Airport. Captain Tim Lancaster, who was partially ejected from the aircraft and exposed to the extreme conditions at high altitude, suffered severe injuries. These injuries included frostbite, bruising, fractures and other trauma. Lancaster's survival is a testament to his remarkable endurance and willpower. Despite the physical and psychological trauma he endured, he clung to the aircraft and remained conscious throughout the ordeal, a truly incredible feat. No passengers were harmed, and the rest of the crew were unharmed also, with Ogden experiencing minor injuries and bruises. Following the incident, Air Accidents Investigation Branch launched a comprehensive investigation to cover the cause of the near disaster. The investigation involved meticulous forensic examination of the aircraft, particularly focusing on the cockpit area where the windshield was dislodged. The critical finding was that the windshield had been installed using bolts that were 0.66mm smaller in diameter than those specified for the task. This seemingly minor discrepancy significantly compromised the windshield's ability to withstand the air pressure at cruising altitude, giving just enough space for the bolts to be ejected out under the severe pressure. Further investigation led to a shocking discovery, which resulted in maintenance records and procedures heavily scrutinized. It was found that the technicians who installed the windshield were not normally assigned to work on that type of aircraft, meaning they were not fully experienced in the work they carried out, which explains the error in using incorrect bolts for the window repair. Aviation regulatory bodies, influenced by the findings of the AAIB investigation, introduced more stringent regulations regarding aircraft maintenance and crew training. There was a heightened emphasis on ensuring that all maintenance tasks were carried out with strict adherence to the specified standards. This included double-checking the suitability of parts and tools for each specific task. These regulations aimed to ensure that similar incidents would be prevented in the future. The British Airways Flight 5390 incident stands as a profound lesson in aviation history. It underscores the critical importance of meticulous attention to maintenance procedures and the extraordinary value of effective crew resource management. This incident is a compelling narrative of human resilience and professional excellence, reinforcing the ethos that in the realm of aviation, there is no room for complacency.